Welcome to the Vet to Vet podcast. I'm your host, Bill Fitters. Join me as I talk to fellow veterans about their military experiences. Experiences from Vietnam to Operation Enduring Freedom. This podcast is sponsored by Tugs. Talking, understanding, growing, and supporting. Even big ships need a little help sometimes. Feel free to hit the subscribe button below to get our latest Vet to Vet interview. Feel free to like, share, and leave a comment below. And thanks for joining us. We're sitting down today with Airman's second class, Dean Braund. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Why don't we start off with before you went in the military? What was life like for Dean?
It was kind of a normal type deal. Going to school, I worked part-time at Boulevard on machines, and when my insurance company found out that I was working on machines, my insurance went up.
And where was that at? Where were you born?
In Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay. I think we're all familiar with that. That's at. And then what year did you decide to join?
I graduated in 1960 from East High School in Madison, and I had a brother that went into the Navy the year before, and I looked at the Navy, and I am petrified of water, so the Navy was out.
Yep.
I looked at the Army, and the Army was marching a lot, and I don't really like doing a lot of marching. And then I had a stepbrother that was in the Marine Corps, and he tried to talk me into going to the Marine Corps, and I listened to all his war stories of the Marine Corps and whatever, and I said, nah, I think I'll go in the Air Force and fly.
So where'd we go to basic at?
Lackland Air Force Base, San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah. And what year, what day do you remember?
August 23rd, I went into service, and it was quite an experience because the first thing they tell you is there's no fence around this place. If you guys want to go AWOL, have at it, but you got a long walk to go.
That's true. Yeah, then they changed that where they brought you in at night, and it's fenced, and it is now, or I shouldn't say now, but when I was in, it was the canine training facility was almost all the way around. So you had to go buy the dogs to get out. So they must not have wanted us to leave very bad.
Yeah.
And when did we leave Texas? Or I should say Lackland.
I left there in November, something like that, and they wanted me to go to Denver to be a fuel specialist. Well, I'd been pumping gas for whatever, and I didn't like the gas smell that much, and so they said, well, how would you like to go OJT, become a weapons specialist, and go to Germany? And all I heard was Germany. The rest of it, I said, oh, yeah, that's what I want to do. And so I came home and went on leave, and not knowing anybody over in Germany when I went, I was very fortunate that the minister from Truax Air Force Base in Madison knew my mother. And my mother, I didn't know him, I never met him, but he said, have him stop in and see me when he gets over there. So I did get to know him, and my first year over there, it was like Christmas time, and didn't know anybody, didn't know anything or whatever, and the minister said, there's this guy from Madison, Wisconsin that married a German girl, and how would you like to go to his house for Christmas? And I thought, yeah, maybe this would be all right. And it was one of the greatest experience of Christmas I ever had, because they had candles on the tree.
Oh, yeah.
Which I've never seen in the United States.
No.
And it was her first time for fixing duck. So we had duck for that, and Myself, I hate cooked cabbage with a passion. And she had cooked cabbage. And I thought, well, I'm in a strange place and whatever, I'll taste some. When I tasted it, it was cooked in wine.
Oh.
And was that ever good? And now I like cabbage, and I eat cabbage all the time.
And whereabouts are we in Germany? Station?
Spangdahlem, Germany.
Okay.
It's a real big city in Germany. Mm-hmm. It's Spang and Dahlem, 2 cities together, and it consists of 7 bars.
Oh.
And that's the town.
That's kind of like Broadhead.
Pretty close, yeah.
So, and we went into ammo over there? Or?
I worked on F-100 when we first got over there, and I think it was 5 or 6 months they switched over to F-105s.
Okay.
And we took care of the ammo of loading the bird with ammo and loading bombs, and we had the biggest bomb the United States ever had, loading that. We did practice bombs. We worked on all weapons of tearing them down and putting them back together and knowing how to do all that. And when we first got there, when we loaded the bombs on the F-100s, we had a hand crank, and there was 4 of us, and you all hand cranked it up together and then locked it into the bird. And and then when we got the F-105s in, we got a hydraulic cart that had the drive wheels and the steering wheels in the back and the cart up in front, and we would load it with that. It was a lot easier, but it was tricky because of the steering and the power on the rear wheels right underneath you. And it was interesting. One day we had a bird that would not release, and the sergeant said to me, would you like to follow the electrical and find a problem in that? He said, you go out there, and that's your bird, you stay on it until you find it. It took me a day and a half, and I started from the release all the way through the plane and followed the wires and everything. Had I started at the pickle button in the cockpit, that was where the problem was. But it showed that I knew my electricity and wiring schematics. And
schematics, yeah.
Yeah.
Which they're not easy on a plane.
No, they aren't. We had the ballroom. They had a better name for it than the ballroom, but for a tall guy like I am, you had to put your arms up in the air and squat way down and go up into the ballroom, and then you worked with your hands almost right in front of you. And one time I had a nut break on me, so I'm out there with a chisel and a hammer, and I'm walloping away to get that thing out of there, and somebody reached down my trousers and pulled it and says, Airman, what are you doing? And I says, I'm trying to get this blankety blank nut out of here. And he says, carry on, Airman. And I thought, ooh, that didn't sound like a sergeant or anything else. So I raised my arms and I come out of it, and it was a full bird colonel walking away. I was a little excited about that one.
They have a tendency, this is what I learned through my experience, when it comes to planes and pilots, they have a tendency to understand maintenance people are frustrated and what have you. There's a lot of forgiveness. I've seen a lot of that on that because they know their lives are in our hands, and they understand the frustration of it. Just like we understand their frustration of when something doesn't work. We're trying to give them the best bird possible. They're trying to fly the best sortie they can or mission that they can. So we're all on one team. It just, the rank structure can sometimes get in the way of.
Yeah. We had 8 times I went temporary duty change down to Tripoli, Libya, Africa, and we did all our practice bombing, gunnery, and whatever. and the base commander came down to do his. And word got around on the flight line that this is the base commander's bird, and he's going to have to go do the sorties and all that stuff. So we made it so his bird only had to go through the course once and was dead on. And unbeknown to us, the base commander on a Saturday on base at a picnic area, anybody that worked on his bird could come out. They had T-bone steaks, 1 inch thick, all day long from 7 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night. All the trimming that went with it.
Wow.
All the beer you wanted to drink, all the booze you wanted to drink. And I had a license to drive pickup, and we used a pickup to go out there, and of course everybody jumped in the back. And at 11 o'clock at night, when the sergeant says it's time to go back to barracks, I started climbing in the back of the truck. And the sergeant says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm going to get in the truck. We're going back to barracks." Well, he says, "Didn't you drive this truck out here?" And, "Yes, I did." "Well, then you drive it back." I said, "Sarge, I'm toasted here. It doesn't make a difference." And back then, we used to do a lot of partying. Today, if you drink one too many drinks, they call you an alcoholic and kick you out. But we had some real parties back then.
Yeah. What'd you think of Germany outside of the fence?
Germany was really a nice place. There was a few people that didn't like Americans and that, but I would say about 85-90% of the people all liked you. We had a bar in Dahlem that we called Mom's Bar. And we'd always, or not all the time, but once in a while we'd go down there for Wiener Schnitzel. And I have tried in the United States to find Wiener Schnitzel, and I have yet to find a place that had it like Mom's had it.
Yeah, they definitely know their way around the kitchen.
And they had all kinds of dances on Friday and Saturday nights. And I was hanging with this one German guy that we used to go out drinking with and whatever. And he says, "Come on over Saturday night to the dance, and it costs you $0.25 to get into the dance, and it costs you $0.25 for a beer."
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine $0.25 for a beer?
You wouldn't see that nowadays.
Yeah, 16-ounce beer. And I says, I only have 50 cents in my pocket. I can't come over. And he's Mark's next. No, come on over. So I went over. I paid my $0.25 to get in. They stamped my hand. And he seen me come in. He come over and he grabbed me by the arm, and we went up to the bar. And I said, "I only got another $0.25. I can't." He says, "You keep the $0.25 in your pocket. We have party." And I went home, and I don't remember driving back home.
So, what was it like going to down to Libya?
Going down there, we had quite a few different flights. The worst flight I had down there was the C-119 flying boxcar. Mm-hmm. One engine went out.
Ah, and I think they only got two, don't they?
That's it. And we come in for a landing in France, and it was a bounce down the runway deal. And they put us in barracks overnight. The next morning, they lined us up. They first got us chow, lined us up, and we all put on Mae West. I says, "What's going on?" He said, "We're going to fly over the water." I says, "In what?" He says, "That C-119. No, I'm not going. They literally picked me up and carried me on the bird to strap me in. But we had a safe trip from there on going down. But
were both engines working when you left?
They were both working, and they revved them up pretty hard at the end of the runway. But I still wasn't ready, and they said, "Well, you don't have to worry. This thing will land on water, too."
Just not as smoothly as the bouncing. Yeah, we ended up bombing Libya.
Yes, we did.
In the 80s.
Yes, we did. What really surprised me when I heard that, I was out of service then, and I heard about us doing that, and I knew exactly, as soon as I heard them going down, I knew exactly where they were going to bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Because they took over they kicked us out of there in 63, and they took over the base. And where would Gaddafi go but the base commander's quarters? That was the best quarters there.
Mm-hmm.
And they missed him, but they got one of his sons.
Yeah.
Killed one of his sons.
We have a tendency to build really nice bases and then lose them. Mm-hmm. And the government that hosts us take it over. And I look back, I have some friends that are still in Spain that have gone back on to like Torrejon in Spain, and it's a ghost town. And that place was just absolutely, the buildings anyway were just absolutely beautiful. The wasn't much for grass, mm-hmm. but mainly rock. But we lost that base in 89, 90, somewhere around there. And yeah, Libya, we lost that one in 63. Yeah, as you said. I don't think we have all that many bases left in Germany either. I think we've really downsized.
Yeah.
Because I've gone back through and looked at like some of the bases that I was at, or my uncles were at, or my grandpa was at, and they're no longer there. It's mm-hmm. kind of our MO, build a really nice facility and then leave it. Mm-hmm. Or I shouldn't say leave it, we get kicked out for one reason or another. So,
what really surprised me about Libya is they did not like us there. They would just as much take a knife out and stick you as anything else. But they had the weapons guarding our flight line.
Yeah, imagine that.
And they knew 3 words: halt, halt, halt. They pull down and shoot.
Darn.
So if you had to have a badge in order to get on the flight line, and if they stopped you, you make darn sure you show them your badge.
We had control of our flight line on our side of the base in Spain, but yeah, they had their Uzis always strapped around their necks on their side, and a flight line is a flight line. I mean, a runway is a runway, I should say. And there was times that we had to go down and secure their side of it because our plane was down there, well, there'd be taxiing out and then shut down. We had to go down and protect our birds. They really weren't too happy with us going down there.
One thing that we had down there, being from Wisconsin, it's hard for you to believe this. We were there in February, woke up in the morning, and it was snowing.
Really?
We got better than an inch of snow on the ground.
Wow.
At 4:30, when we got done for our day, came back, went to Chow Hall, put on our swimming suits because the snow was melted, and swam in the Mediterranean.
That'd be odd getting snow down there. We never got snow in Spain. I don't know. I seen snow in Italy, up in the mountains. Mm-hmm. Turkey, they're in the mountaintop ranges, but other than that, it was like dust and dirt and everything else. Yeah, that's odd for Libya to get snow. Imagine that. And then we also were in, you had said Libya, and then what other country did you say you went TDY to, or is that it?
We went TDY into France, mock wartime. And in France, we are not allowed to bring any nuclear weapons. But they came in on the semis.
Where at in France? Do you remember the base or the airfield?
Etain, and I don't remember the other one. There was 2 of them that we went into there, and they weren't bad, but it was different.
Did you get off base at all there?
Not when we were on the practice deal, but I had a 1950 Volkswagen. when I was over there. And I got into Belgium, France, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Amsterdam and that, down in Switzerland, Austria. So I got to travel around a little bit. And
yeah, it sounds like it.
they wouldn't let me go into Italy because you had to have all the stuff for protection in case your vehicle breaks down and whatever. And I wasn't about to buy that for just a couple of days in Italy. Yeah. I wanted to go to Berlin after I was there when the Berlin Wall went up.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go over and see the wall, and my sergeant said, "Nope, you ain't going. You got a top secret clearance, and we ain't putting you in that predicament."
I can't remember what year that went up.
1962, I believe it was, 2 or 3.
And I just left Spain when they tore it down.
Yeah?
Ain't that crazy?
When the Berlin Wall went up, our base was noted that if a war broke out, we would last 15 minutes. They pumped us into that pretty regular. I was down in Tripoli, Libya when that happened. And we loaded up the C-130s with all the pylons and whatever, fixed our jets, and they took off. And I said to the sergeant, I said, "What do we do?" Well, he said, "We go back to the barracks, get our stuff ready, and when the C-130s come back in, they'll pick us up and take us back to the base." I said, "Oh, okay." So I had the driver's license, I had the pickup, and we went back to the barracks, and I was just about ready to get out to go in and get my stuff together, and he said, No, stay in the truck a minute." I said, "What for?" He says, "Just stay in the truck." We went over to the Class 6 store, loaded the back of that truck with beer and booze and whatever, and we drank until the plane came in, drove up to the flight line, and I said, "What do we do with the truck?" And he said, "Leave it sit right there. They'll come and get it." And we flew, and I'll guarantee you I will never in my lifetime fly drunk again. That was a miserable flight. But we got back to the base, and I said, "I'm going to go up to the barracks and get some sleep." And they said, "No, throw your bag over there in the corner, grab your toolbox, and go out on line and go to work."
Yeah.
And once we got everything configured and ready to go, come back to the shop, and they said, "Chow wagons up at main hangar number 1, you can go up and get some chow." And I said, "Do I have a choice?" And they said, "What do you mean a choice?" I said, "Sleep or chow?" And, "Yeah, take your choice." I says, "Pick me up over in the corner." And I went and laid down, went to sleep, and it felt like I was there about 2 seconds. I don't know how long I was there. They took me out to the end of the runway, and this was in February. And I had my full Parker stuff on. I got out there by the bird, and being armament, we always armed it before it went off the ground. It was our duty. And we took in, I seen the air policeman guarding the bird, and I said, "Have you had any sleep?" "Yeah," he says, "I just got up from 8 hours sleep." And I says, "Good. See that wheel right there?" I says, "I'm going to lay down on the ground next to that wheel, and if anything happens, wake me up." And it felt again like I just laid down, and they were waking me up, and I jumped up ready to start arming the plane. And he said, No. He says, "Chow wagon's here." So you take that tray that you have, and I swear that it was so full, it was almost falling off the sides. And the guy at the chow wagon there said, "Are you going to eat all that?" I says, "I haven't eaten probably 48 hours. "Yeah, definitely I'm going to eat all that."
Yeah.
That's the closest I've ever come to war.
Yeah?
No hand-to-hand combat or whatever.
Alerts are are not for the faint of heart. They try.
Well,
they take a toll on you.
It's dead serious stuff. We were out loading one time, and I had this sergeant as a load crew chief. It was when we had the F-100s yet, and when I put up the crank to the cradle, it didn't marry up right. Okay. And I called the sergeant over, and I said to him, we got to abort this mission. This jack is not marrying up right. He come over and looked at it, and he said, load it. I says, you sure? And he said, load it. So the four of us got on, one in each corner, and we jacked it up, and it was just about to the bird, and the jack let go, and the bomb slammed on the ground. Oh.
That'd be a tense moment.
Well, they always told us on this bomb, if anything goes wrong with it, don't run, don't hide, sit down right on top of it, light a cigarette, inhale as hard as you can, because you'll never exhale. And that's the scariest I have ever been in my life. And after the alert was over with, I went in and I seen the officer in charge at shop, and I told him, I says, I'm dead serious. I says, you can put me in front of a firing squad, you can court-martial me, you can dishonorable discharge me, whatever you want to do with me, but I am not working with that sergeant one more minute. And he told me that whatever was said in this room, you don't have to repeat it because, tell him to come and see me. And that was the last day I seen that sergeant. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, you can't mess around with bombs. No.
Anytime you mess with a weapon, you got to be dead serious
True.
And sober, 100%.
Well, I can't say I'm always sober, but
well, maybe one.
The dead serious part, I'm with you on that.
Right.
It seems to be a thing when maybe it's just when you're talking about being partying and stuff like that. I think that's and maybe some other guys will correct me on this, but a European thing. It just it goes with the territory. Like the Spanish, the clubs and stuff and the bars really didn't open up till 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And we'd party until it was time to go to work.
The best time I really had in Germany was going to Oktoberfest.
I was going to get to that. Yeah.
Oh man, 3 years I made it every single year. They had spits going with 5 pigs on a spit, and there was 5 spits, and all of them were turning, and they had an overhead crane, and when the first row was done, they'd pick it up, bring it out, set it on a table. They had 5 chefs there cutting it up. They'd pull the rod out and go back and load up another one and move each one forward.
Wow.
And we bought sandwiches, which was $1 a sandwich.
Couldn't touch that now.
No, and if you take one of our hamburger buns that you get at McDonald's, double that in size, and pork hanging off the side, all for $1.
Unbelievable.
And all the booze and beer and drink, they partied 24/7.
Yeah, during Oktoberfest, it's the real deal.
Yep.
Yeah, your liver at the end of it is going, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
But then when next year comes around, your liver's going, let's go try that again. Yeah. It's like I was saying, Europe is just a totally different ball game, and I'm sure Kurt or Carl will tell me, oh no, in Asia or in Japan it's this way because they spend a lot of time over that way. But
I stayed overnight one time at this friend that I hung out with, this German guy. It was in February, and it was the only room in the whole house that was heated was the kitchen. So everybody sat in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And when you went to bed, there was no heat in that room whatsoever.
Yeah, I bet.
And they had a down blanket type deal that you laid over the top of you, and it took a while to warm up. But I learned a hard thing. In the morning, you bring your clothes into that nice warm thing. Otherwise, you put on your clothes and they wouldn't bend.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yep.
Yeah, things are different over there than what they are here, or I'm sure things have been upgraded since then, as far as house heating and stuff like that. I forgot to get from you what squadron that was in over there in Germany.
49th.
49th.
Yep.
Was that munitions or ammo? Was there a difference back then, or was it all the same?
It was all the same.
Yeah, all you ammo guys are ate up. I want to clarify for your, because ammo guys and munitions nowadays are like two different. It's kind of like the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. They're just two different animals, and they get real touchy about.
Yeah, we worked on everything. We'd get new troops coming in, and we'd send them over to get some ammo, and they'd go over there and grab hold of it, and this is too heavy, so they'd drag it across the floor, and you'd start hollering at them, stop.
So how long were we in Germany altogether?
3 years. 3 years and 1 month.
And then did you come back stateside, or did you come back to get out?
I come back, and I was supposed to have 9 months in Wichita, Kansas, at I can't remember the name of the base, but it was in Wichita. And because I stayed 1 more month in Germany, I only had 8 months to go.
Oh, that ain't too bad.
But the reason that I stayed 1 extra month is I got to know everybody on base. I could get all kinds of favors going any place and anywhere. So I went down to headquarters and I says, I'm shipping out in October, or it was in November. And I says, is there any chance that I could take and ship out in December and be home for Christmas and New Year's for the first time in 3 years? And they said, for you, got it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That makes it nice when you can pull little strings here and there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my little Volkswagen, I had meters to check meters. And when I first got on base, we were going down to headquarters, and we were outside hangar number 1 on the back side. And here's a sergeant working on a trailer, making it into a pop-up tent trailer. And I said to the guys I'm with, wow, this guy took and bought this stuff? And, oh, no, that's military. I says, click. So I learned that in military you do a lot of favors both ways, and there's all kinds of stuff. I needed a battery for my Volkswagen. And I went down to the battery shop, and I says, can you check out my battery? I don't have nothing here to check it out. And he says, here's a carrying strap. Go out and get your battery. So I went out, took it out of the car, brought it in, and he says, put it down right over there. So I put it down on the floor, and we're standing there talking probably 20 minutes, a half hour, just BSing. And he said, okay, your battery's ready. And I said, well, you didn't even put anything on it. He says, yeah, it's right over here. Brand new battery.
Now, I had heard of I think he was a major, that had a 1957 Chevy that had stealth technology on the outside of it. And it was found out because the base LE tried getting him on radar to see how fast he was going, and they could never get a signal on him. This was in the late 80s. Needless to say, I don't think he was in the military anymore. Military, you can give and receive.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, which is a good thing. I mean, worked out good.
Well, I think that helps kind of, it's expensive for the taxpayer, but it helps morale in the military because there's a lot of times that you're down and out, and I think the first Christmas that I was over there was a hard time, and after that, you got friends and whatever you meet, and things kind of change for you. But there's, and especially for them guys that went to Vietnam and other war places and that, there's a lot of downtime, a lot more than what I had, and they put up with a lot of stuff, and it's hard to put into words how are they feeling.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that. Well, you're out of it now. You're back here in the United States. You can, no, it's not like that.
No, you can't just turn it off.
Yeah, it's there. Yep. It's in the back of your mind. You see all this stuff. I could tell you some real war stories in Tripoli, Libya. One of them was, which I can talk about. We had a Navy ship come in, and I don't know what the rank it is but it was like a sergeant in the Air Force. We were told we could not go down in the old city of Libya after 6 o'clock at night. Well, this Navy guy, well, I'm rough and tough. I can do that. He didn't report back to duty the next day. So they went on a door-to-door search through the city and never found a stitch of clothing.
Wow.
He just vanished.
Yeah, you gotta be. I'm trying to think of what the word is. Your situational awareness has to, when you're on foreign soil and you're visiting there and you want to just go out and see the sights. You definitely got to be on your toes.
Yep.
And I've had other people that I've interviewed say this, and I'll confirm it. When the government gives you a map and says, "Don't go there," you're going there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just I don't know if it's a challenge or if it's just it's probably because there's a lot of fun in that area.
Well, it's like the government told us, do not eat any dairy products off base.
I wonder why that is.
Maybe it isn't pasteurized or something, but I'm here to tell you I'm okay. Yeah, we went into quite a few bakery shops and ate quite a bit of stuff, and it was good.
Well, growing up in a farming community, it was easy to get milk straight out of a bulk tank, and that was the best milk, and that wasn't pasteurized and anything added to it. I mean, if they could bring that back safely somehow, I'd be all right with that.
Well, it's like in Spangdahlem, out of each house that was there in the city was a honey pile right out in the front. The animals lived downstairs, the people lived upstairs, and all the manure and human waste went into this honey pile. And they either had 2 cows or 2 horses, or they had a tractor. That was a poor part of Germany, the Eifel. And I'm here to tell you that waking up in the morning in one of those honey piles is not one of the things you ever want to do.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
Yes, I woke up one morning and I swore him down it would never happen again.
But it probably was warm.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So we come back to Kansas, and we're there for 8 months, you said?
Yeah.
And what do we do over there? Same thing?
Same thing.
Munitions and ammo?
I worked on F-105s and
okay, they had those there?
Yep.
And then when you got done with your 8 months, what happened? Get out? Or?
Well, they called me in and said, "Are you going to re-enlist?" And I said, "Do I get another stripe?" And he said, "Nope." I said, "Where am I going to go?" And they said, Vietnam. And I said, nope. So I got out, and I was involved in a auto accident off base, and that was about the second month I was down there. And I went to court. I sandwiched between a truck and a car.
Oh.
Traveling salesman didn't see me, stopped and drilled me.
Wow.
But anyway, I sued the company, and I had money coming from them. And when I went to clear base, I went in headquarters, and I'm sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting for my money. And the sergeant come out and said, well, there's a delay on the money. It's going to be at least an hour and a half, 2 hours yet. And I says, can you send that to my house? And they says, yeah, we can do that. Give me your address. And so I give him my address, and he says, how are you going to get home? And I says, I know how to get around. And I already had the money from the accident.
The settlement, yeah.
So, and I made $7,500 after lawyers and doctors got their stuff. I went through a lot of pain, but at least I got that. Came back home and didn't have a job yet, and I told my mother, I said, I'm going to buy a house. She says, you can't buy a house, you don't have a job. I said, Mom, I'll have a job before the end of the week. 2 days later, I had a job.
Oh, my. So did you get the house?
Got the house.
Ah.
Yeah, the house itself was 100 and some years old. My mother used to walk by it every day going to school. So I knew it was old.
Yeah, but, sometimes if you know the owners, you kind of can tell but from the owner how well it's been maintained just by knowing that person.
Yeah.
So if you go by it and you're just like, yeah, that guy ain't going to take care of his house. Or, yeah, that guy took care of his house.
Yeah.
Or gal. I don't want to. Anything else you want to add?
One pleasure trip that I had is I was going to Trier, Germany. We were going to go down and check out the ladies.
Oh, of course.
And it was foggy. And a deer jumped off a hillside right in front of my Volkswagen, and I smacked it with a Volkswagen. The Volkswagen just tipped right up kind of on its nose and come back down. The guy in the back seat said, what the heck is going on? He never seen it. And we called the police, and they come out, and a German guy come up, and he's holding a sticker knife, pretty good size one, and he's talking to me in German. And I had this German guy with me, and his name was Willie. I said, hey, Willie, come here. I said, what this guy doing? He's talking to me, and he's got this knife. So he talked to him, and he said, he wants to go over and finish the deer off because it's over in a ditch. It wasn't dead. And he says, go ahead, you can do it. He says, do you want the deer? Well, what I do with the deer at Germany, I said, yeah, he can have that too. So the guy took that. And the police looked at my Volkswagen, and there wasn't a lot of damage on it, but enough. Took the headlights out and that. And the bulbs were kind of there. And I said, well, can I continue on? Because the engine wasn't hurt. It was the engine in the back. Nope, you can't go on. So they hauled that in. We got a ride into Trier. And the next day, when I went to roll call, I asked the sergeant if I could go down and get my vehicle. Told him what had happened and whatever. And I called in the air police in Bitburg, which was from our base was 7 miles from runway to runway. Mm-hmm. To drive was 16 miles because he had all the back and turns. But anyway, I called them in. They made a report out. And next day, I come back on base, had my fatigues on, and the air police waved at me. Well, I waved back at them. I knew the guys.
Yeah.
The following day at roll call, they told me to go down and report to Air Police headquarters. So I went down there, and they said, you had an accident with your vehicle. I said, yeah, I hit a deer. Did you report it? I said, well, yeah, I reported to the air police in Bitburg. Oh, you didn't report it to the air police in Spangdahlem? I says, I was told that I had to report to air police, so that was the closest one. Well, you got to report it here on this base. And I said, well, okay, I understand. And he says, well, you were off base in fatigues. Yeah, I was. You're not supposed to be off base in fatigues. Well, okay, you got me there. And he says, you're driving an inoperative vehicle. I says, what do you mean, inoperative vehicle? It's still going, I can drive it down the road. He says, you don't have any headlights. I says, you don't need headlights in the daytime. Well, yeah, he says, I guess I'll let you off on that. But I got you on that fatigue deal. I says, yeah, you got me. So you go up to headquarters and you read article such and such, page such and such, and we'll let you off this time, but don't let it happen again. I said, yep, I'll do that. I don't know where headquarters is. I've never read that article. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good, easy punishment, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could have gotten in some real bad stuff right there.
Yeah, and they were pretty restrictive of when we could wear, what we could wear off base, because they didn't want us becoming a target.
Right. Now, I knew for a fact that I wasn't supposed to wear that. I learned real quick in Germany, if you have blonde hair and you put a black suit on, everybody thinks you're a German.
Yeah.
You feed right in.
Yeah. That's just the opposite in Spain. If you had blonde hair, everybody knew you were an American. And I was the brown hair, brown eyes. I mixed right in.
Yeah.
I didn't have any problems. My buddy who blonde hair, I think he ended up getting stabbed a total of 3 times again. For those that are wondering, we're in the area in the map that they tell you not to go. 3 different times. Mike Yachman, by the way, he got stabbed like 3 times because he had blonde hair. You're an easy target, in a country like that.
My stepbrother was in Okinawa.
Okay.
And him and his buddy one day were in the daytime, was walking down the street and decided to take a shortcut and cut through this alley. He said he started through the alley, got halfway through, and 4 Vietnamese walked in from the other side and blocked him.
Oh.
So they turned around to go back, and when they turned around, there was 4 Vietnamese on that side of them. So they went back to back, both of them being Marines. He said there was 4 Vietnamese with their guts hanging out.
Yeah.
And the 2 Marines walked out of there. The other ones ran.
Yeah, you get in a situation, it's fight or flight.
Yeah.
Marines don't fight.
I always kid him because I said he was Uncle Sam's misguided children.
Yeah. They do a wonderful job, though.
Oh, yeah.
They're just, yeah.
He said the only people that the Marines step out of the way for is the Seabees.
Yeah.
Other than that, he says everybody else better step off the sidewalk and let them by.
Yeah. Yeah, they have their own, I don't think there's anybody that we, Air Force-wise, that we step aside for. Not that I can think of anyway.
Yeah.
Navy,
Yes.
I know they're the same way. They respect their Seabees, very much. And, Marines, well, they're Department of the Navy anyway.
My brother in the Navy and my stepbrother in the Marines and me in the Air Force, when we were at home, there was just slamming going back and forth.
I bet.
But the deal was that once we walked into the bar, There was no bad words any which way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we all give each other, a hard time or harass each other about our service and stuff. But I'll tell you what, when the chips are down,
we stand together.
Yeah, whether it be in a bar or on a war field or just anywhere, we come together real quick.
Yep.
And I've learned, I've actually watched this where somebody who isn't in the military thinks that they're going to join in on the fun and rip on somebody. All of a sudden, everybody's like, "Arr!"
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a in-service thing, which is, I mean, there's nothing to, I mean, it's all fun and games.
My grandson took karate class, and I told the karate teacher, I says, this is strange. He says, what's that? I says, that's nothing like the karate I learned. Yeah.
Yep, things change. All right, anything else you'd like to add today?
No, I think that pretty well covers
Always a pleasure sitting down with you, sir.
Thank you.
Always. The rest of you veterans out there, keep your heads up and moving forward.